Guy, this is the As the Wheel Turns, So the Days of Our Rides. Yes, today's topic is usually horrible news, right? But I want to start off with a couple positives. Reason being is I'm more of a positive person, and you just need to let just these horrible things just kind of come and go and focus on the positive and work towards that, because you just can't swallow in it and just go deep down that rabbit hole of horrible ickiness. Anyway, so just want to talk about first the highlight of what's going on currently in my industry and my local market. This is kind of one of those interesting things where it's been a whole bunch of doom and gloom and whatever in between in the last 6 to 9 months of the cycling industry just taking a tank, and the local shops are having a hard time, and all these companies are trying to shift, and inventory is too much and there's sales everywhere. Well, yes, that is definitely the case, and there was a couple different drivers of that prior to the year even beginning. Well, what really also contributed to all of that is the weather being so bad, right? It's like around here we had cold temperatures way into June. All those things are a huge factor on local markets here, and as well a good portion of the United States was having colder than average temperatures. Well, that being said, unfortunately, that really softened sales on top of everything else that was going on. You could say economy, interest rates, whatever. Perfect storm of horribleness, right? So all the shops are struggling. Well, guess what? Got some good news. And this is a great indicator that the market's actually going to finally turn for the season, because who's going to see the influx of sales and changes first? Well, the individuals that are selling lower price products and providing better service or services that are not very expensive to bring bikes to the market. So indication, if anything's going to change, I'm going to probably see it first. Reason being, my price points on my bikes are a lot lower, and it actually shows people are starting to buy. So the last week and a half, 2 weeks, right after 4th of July, the temperatures warmed up, got a little bit nicer here. I've been selling bikes like crazy. It's back to like July of last year and even the year before. It's been like super busy, service has picked up, all those things. It's great. So also shipping quite a few bikes. People are getting excited nationally too. So over majority of my bike, well, not majority, but like half of my bikes are shipped out, and they go across the United States. And that's kind of showing you indication that the East Coast, the West Coast, Oregon, one's going up to Portland, a couple in California, Texas, and so forth, even down in Florida. Those people are getting bikes, right? From me, therefore, those markets are starting to pick. They're looking for bikes and they're finding me, and it's pretty busy. Get a lot of communications from customers and people looking for bikes and probing. That's great, because that's what you want to see. We were not having that earlier. It was like crickets, and it's like, oh boy. Got to wait for it. So yes, that is the highlight. Is definitely the industry is taking off. But here is the drop of the hammer. There's also bad swings at this too, and it's always been there, and bike shops have always suffered from this, and individuals as well. So I want to cover a couple of bases, and the one that's hit me recently is one of my bikes is being stolen. And why I'm not saying that's being stolen, it's still in the process of being stolen. This is the weird one to me. And it's probably not at all weird out there, but for bikes, I don't know, it's kind of strange. So let me tell you a little story. So I sell bikes off my website as well as eBay, as well as Bike List, and those are, and also Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace I don't ship because they don't ship bikes in that sense, but I connect and also do Craigslist, whatever. But this one is particularly through eBay, and eBay has like purchasing protection. Well, even though I don't allow returns, I do that to kind of cut out any riffraff, that kind of thing. So that way I can address it case by case versus just a general knowledge. I'm sorry, I'm a small shop. I take a lot of pride and I put a lot into each individual bikes, and those kinds of things take a lot of time, and I just can't be willy-nilly, oh yeah, just throw it back in the box and return it. Unfortunately, that just business model doesn't work for me. So therefore, that's what I have that set up on eBay. Well, this individual purchased the bike, had it shipped, and lo and behold, he, without communication with me, sends in a request or basically a flag towards eBay saying the content that he did not receive was not correct or did not match. This is a blanket statement from eBay, so nothing specific on that. So you dig in a little bit further and it's like, oh, this is what I got, and he threw some pictures up. Okay, what I sold this individual, as you saw in the header picture, is a Specialized Allay, bright red, extra large road bike, right? I specifically only do road bikes mostly. I do maybe once in a while a hybrid, that kind of thing. What he had pictures of is a bicycle that was a kid's bike, a junky one, grainy pictures, not with any packaging. It's like, this is what I received. And it's like, I didn't ship you that. So I'm like, oh, this is late on Thursday night dealing with this, right? And after a super busy day, I was on a super high, like things are great, and this is just like, just gut punch. So I asked for some pictures. Can I, is it the right, this is the same box, right? So can you send me a couple of pictures of the box and the shipping label? He sends those two pictures of the box and the shipping label. Yep, sure enough, it's my box, and sure enough, it's a shipping label. So I've been on eBay for a while. I got over 900 positive reviews. I've been doing this. This is a business. I'm valid. It's like, there's no question about that, right? I can really contest that, even in court of law. Like, I'm in business. Somebody buys a bike, I ship it. If it may be the wrong bike, but it would be something in my inventory, right? Heavens, if that ever happened, hope not. But, one of those things that a random junky kid's bike that I can't even tell what brand it is in the grainy pictures, not question, super questionable. So yeah, compared to, I look at this individual's reviews as positive. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So without a benefit of doubt, I'm like, okay, maybe something happened along the line of UPS. Maybe there's some corruption somewhere there that I can put in a claim to UPS like, hey, somebody opened up this box, switched it, and put a junky bike content, stole my bike that I shipped, and sent out the kid's bike. Think about it for a second. That's a lot of effort, and that's most likely not what happened. But just without a benefit of doubt, I'm going to do a claim through UPS and kind of push through. And it's like, hey, because you never know. It might be a situation where the shipper is have some kind of corruption down the line, and they want to know themselves if they have any in that case. I'm saying that doesn't happen. It does appears to happen. But the most likelihood is the individual swap the bike out with this junky one, put a claim to eBay to get a free bike, and after a few days, his funds will go back onto his credit card. That's where the limbo I'm in. That's why it's partially stolen or is trying to steal it, that kind of thing. But, what do you do in a situation like this? Okay, so I'm going to go to eBay and do my whole thing, but I'm already thinking that's going to be a loss. They're going to side with the buyer. That's kind of their position. Okay, I'm out 800 bucks. All right, it's a loss. It's cost. In retail, the cost of doing business is loss. Profit and loss, people steal from you. I worked at Big Five Sporting Goods. We have L&P. You had a percentage go out. You just have to accept it. When it comes to like bigger tickets like this, it's like it's a bigger piece of my spectrum. It's not like you just stole a derailleur or something small and like whatever. It's a pretty significant gut punch. And it's one of those things that, it keeps you up at night as an individual. You feel like you've done something wrong and all these things. It's like all this guilt and so forth. So I want to tell people out there, and this has happened, my parents and I, we had a bike shop, back in the day, and we used to just take people's car keys as collateral as they rode the test rode the bike. Well, this one guy gave my mom a ring full of keys, jumped on a Trek 970 and rode away. So it happens. It's a horrible feeling. It upsets a lot of people. And it's horrible in the bike shop industry where they smash and grab with trucks and all through the COVID thing and still yet today. Bad, 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 right? Well, as an individual, if you have a bike, I just want to tell you, if it's stolen, it's really not your fault. I mean, yeah, you could have done something. You do that woulda, coulda, shoulda thing in your head. But honestly, it's that person's fault. That person took your bike. regardless if it was sitting there unlocked or whatever. They stole your bike. They took the initiative to steal that bike. So all the fault and the blame and the guilt should be on them. So as a psychological piece of this, try to, I know it's hard, but get out of that headspace and be positive. It's like, okay, this is a karma thing. That person's desperate or whatever. I need to live my life in a positive direction, and there's worse things that could happen. You know, so many worse things, right? So let's just take the emotional piece out of it. So what do you do from here? Well, first you try to take the emotional piece out of it. So you're not like, make your, yeah. My poor daughter heard me like, so, you know, got over that and like, okay, and what do you do? Well, I thought about this long and hard. Okay, well, what do you do if somebody stole a bike out of your garage, right? Or somewhere else? You file a police report. Well, I'm gonna go and file a police report with that local department where the bike was shipped. I'm gonna explain to them what happened, and if the bike's gonna show up, it's gonna show up in their area. So here's the bike specs and serial number. I got pictures of everything. So much detail. This is like a whole envelope of information I give to the police department. This is where it's supposed to go. This is who shipped it. This is who received it. Okay. Do whatever you need to do, or it just sits there in a file on somebody's desk, fine, but at least I get a report and I get a report number. Now that's the key thing. You take the report number and you go to Bike Index and also the garage, which I have links in the description below, where you can register your bike as stolen. Always try to get the big takeaway from this, if anything, get the serial numbers off your bike. Take pictures of them and write them down and put them somewhere safe, because if the bike is stolen, you'll need that serial number. But that's the only thing that's really going to be able to get you by snowball chance and hell is the only way you're going to get that bike back, is the serial numbers match. So yeah, you take that information, go to those index, Bike Index or the garage, 9 something, it has like 3 numbers, and then register your bike stolen, do all the information, then put in the police report number. Also, that will also flag the local pawn shops in that area, or pawn shops actually nationwide. They check these registries, and when the bike shows up there, it gets flagged. I know this works because I've sold a couple bikes to a couple that are CSU police, and they front hand deal with bikes stolen on a campus, right? And they said, like, we actually got a couple bikes recovered in Chicago. And I'm in Loveland, Colorado. Fort Collins is the campus. You're talking about Chicago. So it does work sometimes. It may not work for obviously it probably doesn't work for everybody or all the time, but at least works some cases out of there. So get a police report, then you check with those index and so forth. In this case, I'm going to do a claim or information to UPS, just in case it's them as well. Those are the two I would consider if I was a police department, like, well, those are the 2 suspects. It's quite obvious. Or at least check it out and, of question. Well, what do you do from there too? Well, okay, I'm do a thing to the eBay, and then you go back to eBay and say, hey, I got a case number. Okay, don't give me the money back, but don't give that person the money back. Hey, just take that money and put it to charity. I don't care at this point. I just want to make sure that individual that maybe stole that bike doesn't get his funds back. I mean, it's like watching this thing in slow motion. It's insane. Anyway, I don't want to like harp on this too much, but I'm just trying to like give ideas. If something like this happens to you and you ship something and people take advantage of that situation, you have things to do. Are you going to have any positive outcome of it? Probably not. But there's things you can do. Police report, register your bike, all those kinds of things could really help that. Then you go to your insurance company and go, this is the bike was stolen, this is the value, is it worth my deductible, whatever the case. And you can look at it that way too. And especially if it's a higher end bike, like you sold a $3,000 or $4,000 bike, well, that might be definitely a route to go. As a business, it's technically a write-off. Yeah, horrible, painful write-off, but it is technically a write-off. So you got the shipping and you got the sell the bike anyway. So that's the shipping portion of being lost and stolen, right? Mostly stolen. Okay, what happens when it gets pulled out of your garage? So number one, a lot of thefts happen as people leave the garage door open, go mow the lawn or whatever. Somebody cases your neighborhood and grabs the bike and runs with it. Same thing, if you have the serial number, you can do the bike index thing and list it there. Also, I was going to call the local pawn shops and see if I can email them with the information, as well as the local bike shops in that area, email them with the local information too, so they can put it in their system as being flagged if it comes in either for service, because sometimes they'll check those serial numbers. The area that this particular one is, I actually know one of the bigger bike shops, and I could ask them if I can have any insights on that to help out for theft, and if they have anything localized, it's more that I can go even over and beyond. But if something's stolen out of your garage, yeah, serial number. If you have cameras, take pictures, ask your neighbors, see if they have cameras. Crazy thing for us is we installed a doorbell camera, and shortly after there was somebody stole a motorcycle in our neighborhood. And what was crazy is that person that stole the motorcycle put it in the back of the truck and drove past our house. So we got on camera this truck with, you know, details of the truck and the motorcycle itself. And the police were able to go to the suspects that they actually found and said, hey, we got you on footage, and they admitted to it. So, you know, that's a couple things. Cameras are helping. It's like, and nobody wants to go through that whole fiasco. Okay, going riding and ruling out and safety and issues of that. I mean, bike shops, I've been in bike shops for a long time, but worked on this shop that was right across from campus. You hear stolen bikes all the time. What do I need to use to, you know, lock up my bike? Well, the big one is the U-lock. That's the big U thing. It's a little cumbersome to carry, but that is one of the most protective ways. You can still break into them, of course, but definitely they're going to go for the low-hanging fruit if they're going to peruse the bike racks at the campus and cut or wherever you go. So what I suggest, if you're going to get a cable lock, don't get something like this. This just really gives the appearance, and I mean, you could lock it up like this, but it doesn't take much of a cable cutters to cut these. So these are actually not very theft preventive. They kind of keep the honest in the sense that they just can't walk away with it. But other than that though, if they're gonna steal your bike, this is the easiest way to cut through. Those are junk. The second thing I would suggest is same kind of lock, but thicker. These are a little bit harder to cut. I have cable cutters. I've had to cut these off of customers' locks and so forth over the years, and these are a little bigger. So this is time, and time is your friend to slow them down, because somebody will like, what are you doing with a big old pair of cable cutters? You know, like doing this thing. So eventually somebody's gonna hopefully say something, and this will at least keep the honest more honest. And you know, if you go into like the library or going to the Walmart real quick or something like that, but if it's a high-end bike, I wouldn't use actually high-end bikes. I don't lock up. I don't ride them to the store and lock them up. So, but if you have like a commuter thing, these usually work really well. It's a key, and this one's from On Guard, but there's like Kryptonite and some Miller brands. So these work really well. So if you don't want to do the big bulky U-lock, you also have these chains. This is a Bontrager one, but Kryptonite makes one too. And these are like readjustable locks. These work pretty well. These are really hard to cut through, that kind of thing. It takes a bit for them to actually cut through. There's actually a chain inside the sleeve, and it's a little bit easier and compact. I mean, you can put in your backpack or your pocket almost, depending on how big your cargo pants are. But, you know, those are the things that you can do when you're out riding around. Also, another big note is when you're traveling. So you go out mountain biking, you got your bikes in the back, that kind of thing. You run in and get a cup of coffee or something like that. Some of those areas, there's thieves just waiting for you to park your truck with your bikes hanging out back and just scalp them. That's happened to a customer of mine, and he, you know, called me. He's like, "Do you require serial numbers on bikes that you do service on?" I'm like, "I don't, unfortunately." But he was able to get it finally from the shop that he purchased them from. But the story takeaway on this is you want to make sure that you have your serial numbers, obviously, but when you park anywhere for like 2 seconds, make sure you can throw little cable locks through them, something like this even, to keep them secure. When I travel around, I throw a lock through mine. So if I need to go run into the Walmart real quick to go grab something or go to the bathroom, whatever, at McDonald's, it's not going to disappear because they're just going to snag those. I've seen a case and footage of a guy that actually stole a bike. Well, the bike was on the rack, unlocked, at a stoplight. This person ran up, unzipped, uncooked the clips, walked away with the bike while the guy was stuck in traffic. It's like, saw this in his mirrors, like, what the heck, So, it's one of those things where, it's unfortunate and it's horrible. There's things you can do to prevent it, but if it still happens to you, at the end of the day, don't feel guilty about it. It's not your fault. It's the person's fault that stole it. So try to remind yourself there's worse things in life and try to be positive. Do things you can do after that. File a police report, register your bikes with the serial numbers being stolen. If the area, call the pawn shops, local shops, if those areas where it may have stolen, and maybe you can, maybe get the bike back. Usually they're stripped down. There's homeless people around the college campus here. They steal the bikes. It's like little chop shops for bikes. They sell the parts and all that kind of thing. It's just, and since COVID and became super, super busy, that incense has actually driven the organized crime. They'd steal bikes and transport them to a different city, like, from Denver to Kansas to LA to Chicago, like I mentioned before, to move those bikes. So if you have tracking with serial numbers and they get found, there's a good chance. I even heard a really crazy story of like Specialized, their Morgan Hill corporate store or corporate offices where they have their collection of all these Specialized bikes and races and one-offs. Like these things are just, super unique, and, like Ned's bike and stuff like that, right? It's like, you don't see these things. And they were hit and they stole a whole bunch of those. And I'm like, how are they going to be able to pawn those off? And the guy told me from Border Patrol, was like, those are shipped out of country. Somebody in South America is probably sitting on Netherlands' bike, like they don't care. They have it on their wall, whatever. So it's just weird, and it's just, it's a bummer. It's from the small, simple theft, somebody stealing your kid's bike in front of your house, to somebody scamming me on a shipped bike, So it happens, but there's some things you can try to do to prevent, slow them down. I'm in business and retail. It's bound to happen. I've had other things kind of gone my way in the sense of people are trying to do the same thing in a weird way. But eventually I'm going to get popped. I'm just going to have to chalk it up and move forward. But at the end of the day, I'm having a great week, actually having a great month. I'm going on vacation here and just going to get out of my head, do my paperwork, shove it away, and answer emails if I need to, and hope for the best. It's like one of those things, and just going to put it out there, like, hey, the bike that I sent out, it's going to have a police report. It's going to have a filing with UPS. It's the shipper. It's going to have registries done on the serial numbers, and the pawn shop is going to be notified. Maybe the person will magically find the bike. Highly doubtful, but I'll give him a bit of a doubt. If he decided to close the case out of nowhere, fine, whatever. And I'll cancel everything out. But until then, we'll see about that. Oh yeah, thanks for mentioning. Yeah, fix it. Yeah, the T-shirt. It's part of that. I don't know if any of you guys watches Spreadshop.com. I think I have a link in my comments below where you can customize the merch. You have like these kind of pictures. There's a couple of, my mother-in-law comes up with these. So she's an avid writer and she's a pretty good artist. And then you can like get the logo put on the back, or I believe you can actually customize it. I have it open so you can customize it. So if you have like a club name or a team name that you want to put your own team logo on somewhere with combination of mine, I'm fine. You know, these have my little, I know a guy on there. So this one's kind of fun. Is my bike okay? It's all messed up. There's like another couple funny ones, you know, on there too. And you can put them on shirts, hats. It's pretty cool because it's one-off. So you just pick and design what you want and have it shipped to you. So yeah, it's you know, and I get a little bit of kickback. It's not huge, but you know, some of these things are fun. And people have asked me for T-shirts, and I was like, that's the easiest way. Then you can pick like if you like the materials that are sports shirt style, like I wouldn't say Under Armour, but kind of Under Armour-ish. Technical wear, or my wife, she's gotten a few of them because she likes the tank tops, and I have one, there's one logo or one graphic that's like, sorry boys, I'm already spoken for, you know, kind of play on words with spokes. So anyway, you know, kind of fun little things, you know, to add to, it'd be great little gift ideas for whoever, for whenever. So anywho, well, thank you for commenting that. But yeah, spread shop, merch, links in the below there. Once I'm close to being monetized, so I'll have a shelf underneath my my YouTube thing. So I hit the first level, almost at 1,000 subscribers. So all of you watching, thank you for supporting me and going through this adventure. And I'm trying to provide hopeful insights and perspectives from my 30 years of being in. And this week, unfortunately, it's a bummer, but also the season's kind of hit, and the bike shops I've been in this week, there's been a couple of them, because guess what? I've had to go get bike boxes. so I've talked to them, and they're like, woo, busy. So things are great for right now. Is it enough to offset the last 9 months of down numbers? Oh, it's better than nothing, right? So we'll take it as much as we can, and hope we have a long season. But anywho, here we are. So hopefully you got some helpful tips on how to prevent and that kind of thing. I'll have a follow-up story on this of what happens if anything happens with the stolen bike. And I'm a kind of a karma, bad juju guy. It's like, whew, I do, you know, whoever gets that bike and it's bad juju, you don't want that, even though it's finely tuned by me. Anyway, oh, they'll have one excellent bike, I guess, right? Yeah. Can't laugh at it, you're just gonna cry. So anywho, well, I do have other bikes I need to wrap and pack up before we go on my trip, so I might kind of have to cut this a little short. But thanks again for hanging out with me as the wheel turns, so the days are rides, and it's beautiful in your neck of the woods and it's not too hot yet. Get out there and ride your bike. That's if it's not stolen. I'm sorry, just kidding, just a pun. Anyway, take care and thank you for your time. Have a great one. And yeah, is my bike okay? I hope so.